Hey, rewind that.
Retro Rewinder, Retro Game Finder with driving and pickups like a Metro bus liner with tips and trades and all kind of things and a beard straight out of the Lord of the Rings. With morals and collecting, he's a guy you can trust. What's the moral of this intro?
He's got a camera in his nuts.
Because I love video games, that's why.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode in Morals and Collecting. I'm your host, Retro Rewinder. Today we're going to be discussing disassembling a product for a higher profit. What do I mean by disassembling a product? I mean taking a game that's complete, disassembling it to get all of its individual pieces, and selling off each piece. The idea is if you sell off each individual piece, you'll make more in the end than if you would have sold it just complete to begin with. To join me on this topic today, I've invited my friend Justin, Bizznes17, to help tackle this topic. So without further ado, welcome Justin.
What is up, guys? Justin here on behalf of Retro Rewinder and his Morals in Collecting series. I'm going to be talking today about selling video games. But real quick, before I hop into that topic, just a introduction for anyone who isn't familiar with me or my channel. I go by Bizznes17 here on YouTube. I have a channel that focuses mainly on video game pickups. I'm into all the retro stuff and whatnot. And I'm also on Facebook and Twitter, so feel free to check me out. But transitioning into the topic of this video, which, as I mentioned, has to do with selling video games. And you know, I guess it could pertain to trading video games as well, but more specifically, splitting up complete video games when selling them. So, for example, taking a complete NES game or a complete N64 game, and rather than selling, the cartridge box and manual together, splitting it up and selling the cartridge on its own, and then selling the box and manual separately, and whether or not that's an ethical way to sell a video game. So, for me personally, I've never split up a complete game like that, and I think it's just like the OCD collector in me. I prefer to have my games complete. I prefer to buy them complete, so I kind of just prefer to sell them complete as well. When possible, I've obviously sold plenty of, cartridge only or even disc only games, or even just a case of manual on its own, but it's never because I split it up. It's always just because I didn't have one part of the set or whatever. But would it be ethical to sell a video game that way? And personally, I think what it comes down to is the intent of the seller. Now, I've seen plenty of people do this, on eBay and stuff, and I'm sure it happens elsewhere as well, but that's mainly where I see it. And I see it mostly with cartridge video games. It doesn't happen so much with like disc-based games, but someone will have a complete game, and rather than sell it all together, they'll sell the cartridge on its own and then sell the box separate and maybe even the manual separate as well, depending on the game, I guess. And, 99% of the time, if you see someone doing that on eBay, or I guess really any like e-commerce website, the intention is to maximize profit on the game. And in that instance, I personally don't think that that's a very ethical way to sell a video game. However, though, I do think there are certain instances where splitting up a game like that could be perfectly ethical, and I can definitely see the argument that selling a complete video game is only going to benefit one person, whereas splitting it up could potentially benefit 2 to 3 different people. And I get that. I can see that argument. And, for example, there have been plenty of times in the past where I'll have a complete game that might be a double in my collection, but, my buddy Ryan, who also collects games, he might only have the disc only or the cartridge only. So rather than me, selling off my complete copy, I'll give him or I'll sell him or I'll trade him the box and or manual that he needs to complete his copy, and then I'll just sell off whatever I have left and take what I can get for it. And in that instance, I don't see any problem with splitting up the game because, my intention there isn't to maximize my profit on it. It's to, help out another collector, and in this case a friend as well, and then kind of just take what I can get for whatever I have left. So that's kind of my take on that. I really think that it comes down to the intention of the seller. If it's to maximize profit, I don't really see that as being very ethical. However, if you're genuinely doing it to help out more than one person, whether you might know that other person or not, then I don't see any problem with that. So, of course, you can't talk about this subject without at least mentioning GameStop. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I felt it was worth bringing up because GameStop does offer these same trade-in prices for games, regardless of whether they're disc-only or, I guess in the case of DS games, cartridge-only. They give the same trade-in prices as if they were complete. And what I really think this does is kind of encourages people to maybe hang on to their cases and manuals when trading in games to GameStop, and maybe trying to sell them off, separately for some additional money, or just hanging on to them, or trading them off, or doing whatever. And I'm guilty of it too. Like, I very rarely trade stuff into GameStop, but I do recall there have been times in the past where I'll have like a stack of like really junky, cheap DS games, and I'm just looking for a few dollars credit, but rather than trade in the 5 complete games that I had, I just traded them the cartridges, and I got the same amount of money. And thinking back, it really didn't do me any good because, like I said, they were junk titles, and I still have the cases and manuals sitting across the room there just taking up space. But that's besides the point, because I'm sure there would be games where it would be more worth it to hang on to a case manual and maybe even sell it off additionally. And my take on that is, if GameStop allows people to do that, people are always just going to do that. I mean, that's just the way it is. I really wish that GameStop would take some kind of consideration of quality in when they're taking in trade-ins. I obviously understand a corporation that big can't have 5 different quality grades for each game and offer different trade-in prices for each one, but I feel like they could have at least 2, right? Have a basic trade-in price for a game, and maybe offer a small percentage more if it has even just a case with it. Like, the manual is not such a big deal, but just having the case with it, or even offering a small percentage less for games if they don't have a case with them. I don't know if they're ever going to implement something like that, but I just felt that was worth bringing up, because that is another. GameStop does come up a lot when talking about like people splitting up video games and selling them off like that. So anyway, those are my takes on the whole situation. Like I said, I think, selling-wise, it kind of comes down to the intention of the seller, whether or not it's ethical to split up a video game like that. And in terms of GameStop, like I said, if they allow people to do that, people are just going to do that. So anyway, I want to thank Retro Rewinder for letting me come on here and chat a little bit. Again, I go by Bizznes17 here on YouTube, so feel free to check me out. And until next time, take care.
First of all, thank you so much, Justin, for coming onto the channel and giving your opinion on this topic. I really appreciate it, and I know everybody that's watching this video appreciates you coming on as well. Now I'd like to give everybody my thoughts on this situation. Recently, I did a video called Bundling for Bargains, where I took a bunch of GameCube games that I bought from a lot and sold off everything. In that video, I showed a screen with a price for a bunch of random stuff. I was a little deceptive on that video. That price that I showed you, which I'll show it here, was not actually the price for those games. I took all those games to Disc Replay, a local video game store in the Indianapolis area, and I sold them all, or I traded them in for credit to use to other stuff. That price that you showed was actually from taking some of the cases and manuals from those GameCube games and selling them on eBay. I sold the disc-only copies on Amazon. On Amazon, you can typically sell a game for a little more or right at the same price as eBay. For a complete copy on eBay, you can sell it for a disc-only copy on Amazon. So that's what I did. I go on Amazon, I sell disc-only copies. One, it's a lot easier to list on Amazon. I just throw it up there real quick. You don't have to put pictures or anything like that, and I just put disc-only. I then take the cases and manuals that are worth anything, and I resell those on eBay. One, I sell a game on Amazon to somebody that is wanting it just to play, and then somebody that's wanting it to wanting the case and manual to complete their disc-only copy, more of the collector side, wants to buy it off eBay. My view is I'm benefiting 2 people at the same time. The person that wants it to play it, and the person that wants to complete their copy. Obviously, I could have sold it for a complete listing, CIB, on eBay, and somebody would have gotten that wanted it to play it and collect it. My thought is I'm going to benefit 2 people, because 2 different people are benefiting from separating it. If I sold a complete in box Donkey Kong Country for Super Nintendo, I piece out the box, manual, and the game, I'm benefiting 3 people. But also I am benefiting myself. I'd be lying if I saying I wasn't doing it to maximize my profit. I am trying to maximize my profit because that's the main reason I go out and do this. I go out, I buy these games, I put in the time, because it takes more time to sell each listing. You're looking at 2 listings versus 1, so it does take more time. I am trying to maximize my profit because I'm trying to make the most money I can to buy more stuff for the collection or for YouTube or just for my hobbies in general. I buy a lot of stuff for my camera. Recently bought a shutter lock. That is all from my video game profits. So I'd be lying if I said I did this just to benefit more people. I'm trying to benefit myself as well. One thing I'd also like to know is if you are against disassembling something to maximize profit, what is your view on GameStop? Because if you take an item to GameStop, they're going to give you the same trade-in credit whether you have it complete or disc only. So you people that do trade-in stuff to game stores, do you take in a copy of, let's say, Super Smash Bros. On the Wii U? Do you take in the case, manual, and the game and trade it in all complete? Or do you only give them the disc and keep the case and manual for somebody else that needs it, to sell it, to use it for your own collection? So my thought is, what do you guys do if you go into GameStop? Do you just trade in the whole thing? Do you think it's wrong to sell a game for maximum profit but think it's okay to dick over GameStop? Because ultimately in the end, if you're dicking over GameStop, you're dicking over the customers that are going to come in. So this has been the topic for Morals in Collecting this time. I hope you've enjoyed the topic. Please let us know in the comment section, what is your thoughts on this topic? Do you think it's okay to do? Do you think it's not okay to do? What's your views on GameStop? Does that make it different than selling it? I'm sure Justin would like to see all the comments in the section below as well. So again, this has been Retro Rewinder. Thanks again, Justin, for joining us on this episode of Morals in Collecting, and I'll talk to you next time.